Hey everybody, good morning. So good to see you. Happy Tuesday. So good to see you. Really grateful that we get to spend some time together. So let's get back to streaming. Let's try to get back into a usual schedule. I took a little bit of a break last week. We met on Sunday and then I had to take a break again yesterday because I had a client phone call. But really happy to be back with all of you and hope that all of you are safe. Hope that your families are well and looking forward to spending some time together with you and seeing where the conversation takes us. For the conversations during the week like this, I don't really walk in with an agenda. So, whatever you guys want to talk about, this is a day for. If you have questions, you have other different things you want to discuss, I'm here for you. So just let me know where you guys want to go. Although I do have an article that I did send out earlier today that I think will be interesting. For those of you that are new, I do always ask people to introduce themselves. Let us know your city, state, province, country, all that good stuff. And then, it's kind of like what we refer to as our global roll call. That way people can feel included in the chat. You don't have to ask some amazing question in order to be part of the chat. So feel free to do that. Let us know where you're from. Let us know, anything else you want about yourself. And then from there, I also like to do an opening note where I give a little bit of a thought for the day, and that you guys are free to comment on, or just kind of something for you guys to think about. And then I take your questions, or we look at an article, or we see what's kind of going on in the data science world, right? So let's go ahead and have you guys start filling up my chat. So please don't be shy. Let me know your city, state, province, country. If you want to tell us anything more, you can. You don't have to. And, we'll go from there. So let me quickly include that in the Instagram chat. I don't think I did that. Give me just a second here, guys. I'm going to pin the message to the Instagram chat. So do that. All right. So while you guys are filling up my chat, I'm going to have an opening note. And I've been thinking about the opening note for today. And it's really hard for me to not acknowledge that it is election day here in the US. And as you guys know, I like to avoid any sort of controversial topics or any political topics on my channel. It's just not my preference. So I'm not going to tell you, any of my views or anything that you should be doing. But let's just make sure that if you are in the U.S., please make sure you get out and vote. It's an important right that we have. It's an important right that not every country has. Not every country and culture respects that. So whatever the case may be for you, whatever your background might be here in the U.S., wherever you may be located in the U.S., just make sure you get out and vote. It's really important. Personally, I'm going to finish my stream here with all of you. And then as part of my daily walk, I'm going to walk to my polling place. I'm going to do my voting and come back, and I'm going to have my breakfast. But really important day today. Who knows what's going to happen today. But just get out and vote. Make sure, we exercise our right to do that. I think it's important that we as citizens respect that and exercise our right. So that's it for the opening note. Again, please let us know where you're from. If you're sitting on the sidelines just watching, that's okay. Just let us know your city, state, province, country, and that way we can welcome you to the chat. All right, so a couple of people have already started. So Joseph, our good friend Joseph, how are you? Good to see you again, my friend. We missed you on Sunday. I don't think you were there on Sunday. Sunday was a good session. Joseph says, morning, Dennis. Hope you enjoyed your break. Thank you, Joseph. I did enjoy it. It's nice to get away, a little bit of a mini social media cleanse. I was still doing some things on Discord and stuff like that. Still recording some content. But yes, it's good to just kind of come back and say hello to everyone. Make sure everyone is doing well. It's gonna be a tough streaming schedule coming up, guys. because, we do have the holidays in the US, and then in January, I want to be bringing some different content to all of you guys. So enjoyed the break. Happy to be back. Happy to try to get back to a consistent schedule. But it's going to be challenging the next couple of months. Challenging but exciting. I mean, I cannot tell you guys how excited I am about the stuff that I have coming up in January. I'm really excited about how that's going. And then on top of that, guys, I've also had a little bit of an uptick in client business recently. I canceled yesterday because of a client phone call. I have another client phone call tomorrow that's fortunately after this stream. So different things coming up. Denelson, our good friend Denelson says, good morning, Denison. Good morning, Dennis. Good morning to you too. How you doing, my friend? How are things in LA? Let me know how things are doing in LA. I'm going to be there later this month for Thanksgiving. So hope you're doing well out there, Denelson. Let us know how you're doing. Rex, my good friend Rex says, happy Tuesday, everyone. It's a beautiful day in New York City. Well, Rex, that's going to make it easier for you to get out and vote. So glad you're doing there, Rex. Rex, I sincerely appreciate your support. You're my most consistent moderator, so thank you so much. And also thank you to Joseph for being a great moderator. Again, guys, these guys help me out on a volunteer basis, so make sure you follow them and give them a thanks when you see them. Osama, our good friend Osama says, hello, sir. I hope everything is going well. Everything is going very well. Thank you, Osama. Everything is going very well. Yeah, just happy to be back here with you guys. Happy to be back streaming. Happy well, I'm happy also that the 100 days of streaming are over. I can feel a little bit more relaxed. But you know what I'm going to do later, guys? I'm going to start coming up with some thumbnails because I realized that my previous thumbnail for these streams mentioned the 100 days. Well, now that that's over, I need a new thumbnail, right? So I might, if you guys have thumbnail ideas, I might put up some thumbnails for voting on my Instagram. I don't know. Maybe I'll do some voting on Discord. But yeah, everything's going well. Just trying to keep everything going. I'm a busy guy over here. It's so many different things to do. But thank you, Osama. I hope you're doing well out there in Morocco also. Hey, how's the weather out there? Is it cool? Is it warm? Let me know how you're doing out there, Osama. I mean, I know Satat's kind of, a little bit deserty, a little bit in the desert lands. Not quite as Marrakesh, but let me know how you're doing out there, Osama. Khalif, my good friend Khalif says, good day, sir. Hopefully we are doing good. We're doing very well, Khalif. How are you doing? Let us know how you're doing. But yeah, everything is going well. Guys, I made a couple of funny posts to my X and my LinkedIn. Today is a good day because I consider it the end of political ads day, right? Because it's election day, but we have been bombarded with political ads. I live in the US in what's known as a battleground state. In other words, it's a state where it's close enough where either candidate can win. So people like me are just like every day there's a political ad. Everywhere you go, everywhere you turn, every billboard, every announcement. So it's a good day because today that comes to an end. So again, no matter who you're voting for, I'm just sick and tired of the ads. So it's a good day because the ads end today. So good day, Khalif. Hope you're having a good day too. Fatima, our good friend Fatima. How are you, Fatima? Fatima from Meekness says, hi, sir. Hello to you too, Fatima. Hope you're doing well. Hope that your studies are going well. If you want to let us know how your studies are going, feel free to tell us. But hope you're doing well out there. Again, if you're just joining us late, let us know your city, state, province, country, whatever else you want to tell us. It's a good way to introduce yourself, good way to participate. So Joseph says, had a half marathon and could not make it. Okay, cool. Well, you missed a good session. I think we had a really good session on Sunday. I think Osama was there, Fatima was there, Khalif was there, Rex was there. Really good session on Sunday. I really enjoyed it. Lots of good discussion. But hope your half marathon went well. Those are always fun. That seems like an appropriate distance, right? You're not going to kill yourself over 13 miles, but it's long enough, right? So good for you, Joseph. Rex says, go vote. Yes, absolutely. Guys, again, if you're in the US, please exercise your right to vote. And, it's an important day for the US. And again, no matter what side you're on, I don't like having political discussions, but, get out there and vote. Let's make sure we all use that right. Like I said, when this content's over, I'm gonna just put on my running shoes and go walk to my polling place and take care of that. Ali Assad says, great content from Doha Qatar. Very cool. Welcome, Ali. I think it's pronounced Qatar, right? I think that's the appropriate pronunciation. If it's not, please let me know. I hate mispronouncing things. But welcome. We've gotten a couple people from Doha before. But I think it's your first time, Ali. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Zaki, I see you're on Instagram. Please let us know your city, state, country, province. We always ask people to introduce themselves, before we take questions and whatnot. Okay. All right. So anybody, and really that goes for anybody else who's still listening. Let us know. If you're shy, you don't have to ask a great question or anything. No one's gonna call on you. But just let us know your city, state, province, country. It's a good way to participate. Good way to practice introducing yourself. How you carry yourself as a data scientist. Super important. Super important. So that's why we ask people to do that. Fatima says, it's good. Thanks for asking. Okay, cool. Glad to see that your studies are going well, Fatima. Okay, guys. So unless there's anybody else who wants to introduce themselves, and you can always introduce yourself later, I want to bring up an article that I posted on Discord. Arian, we asked people to introduce themselves, okay? Let us know your city, state, province, country, okay? Osama says, autumn brought cold weather, but today it's 25 degrees. 25 degrees, that's pretty warm, isn't it? That's pretty warm, right? I don't always remember the Celsius scale, but I think 25 degrees is on the warmer side, right? Yeah, so I think it is a little bit warmer this year, right? I don't know if you guys saw the posting, I think it was on X, where it's the 1st October where Mount Fuji in Japan doesn't have any snow on it. They went the entire month of October with no snow on Mount Fuji. So obviously the internet is freaking out, thinking it's some sort of a negative sign, right, about the apocalypse or whatever. But yeah, Osama, to your point, I think around the world it's been a little bit of a warmer September and October than what most people are used to. I know that's been the case for me in my area, although this week it has been a little bit colder, a lot of wind. Joseph says global weather patterns have been a little odd in 2024. Yeah, absolutely, Joseph. But it's been that way for a couple of years now, right? Yeah. Actually, Joseph, he just reminded me of something that I meant to put in one of our chats on Discord, where I remember when I was in the New York area. I'm a car guy, right? So I belong to a couple of car clubs. And, traditionally on the East Coast, it snows, it's very cold. And, a car club typically wouldn't meet during that time because there's snow on the ground or it rains too much. So nobody wants to go out and meet and get their car dirty or drive in the snow, right? So I remember that some of the car clubs, this time of the year is when they shut down, like November, December, they won't have any events, and then they won't meet again until like April or maybe even May, some cases. So I remember there was this discussion on one of the groups. So they were saying, oh, it's November, time to stop having events, time to shut everything down. And I remember I thought to myself, and I contributed to the conversation, I was like, really? Like, it's 50 degrees in February nowadays, right? Which, for those of you that don't know, that would be a very mild winter, right? There is no snow at 50 degrees. So I thought, not everything of global warming is bad, right? You can have year-round events now, because There's a lot less snow, a lot less rainy days, right? So depending on what part of the country you live, Joseph, it, you know, define odd, right? Like, if you live in a snowy area and you don't like snow and now there's going to be less snow, I don't know, that's kind of a win, right? It's like I'm saying that jokingly. I know that there's a lot more serious consequences, right? But not everybody's going to be unhappy, right? Only some people are going to be unhappy. But yeah, Joseph, it has been an interesting year for weather. In fact, yesterday I was reading about how potatoes, I don't know if you guys know this, but potatoes are in danger. Apparently, potatoes can only grow if the soil is under 70 degrees, I think is what it was. Or like 80 degrees, which again, for those of you who use Celsius, 70 degrees is kind of cool temperature, right? Not cold, but it's on the cooler side. So they were talking about how there could be a shortages of potatoes in the future because there won't be land in most places of the world, or where most places where potatoes are grown, that are going to be cold enough for potatoes. So they were talking about how it's time to start developing a little bit a different genotype, I guess, or breed of potato, genotype of potato that can grow in warmer soils, because it's just going to be the nature of the world that everyone is going to have a warmer soil. So interesting stuff, time. Interesting stuff ahead. I am Farnaz. Farnaz. Masters of Computer Science and Engineering in Seoul, Korea. Welcome. We get a couple of people from Korea. I know it's late in Asia, so thank you for joining us. I think it's your first time, so appreciate the introduction. Yeah, and thanks for being here. Anything we can help with, let us know. So Zaki on Instagram tells us, hi, I'm a software engineering student currently studying in Malaysia. Cool. Johor Baru, I hope I pronounced that right. This is my first time here. Would love to know more about the context of your live stream and background. Sure. Zaki, appreciate the introduction. So my name is Dennis. This is the chat. Welcome to the chat. But basically, I'm a chief data scientist with a lot of experience behind me. I don't know if I should say I had or I have. I had makes it sound like I'm retired. I had a 20+ year career. I've led teams and all kinds of projects. And my entire goal here, the whole reason I started this, is to bring real world data science to everybody. I sat on the sidelines for too long, looking at all these trash materials and the idiot influencers that give bad information, and I got sick and tired of it. So why should, if I want change, it should start with me. So that's why I'm here. I want to give you real world experience in data science. That's my whole goal here. So I don't sell any cheap courses. I don't do any Patreons or tutorials. You can book a career consultation call with me. I also keep my own list of corporate clients that I help with on any number of things. You can also buy my book, Your First Year in Data Science. That is the best way to support me. Because, again, I don't do any cheap stuff. I don't ask for donations. If anybody approaches you telling you that I need money, or I'm asking you for money for an investment scheme or whatever, I don't do that stuff. So that's really what I do. Generally speaking, I do stream daily. I might take a couple days off here and there, but I do stream daily. And Sundays, we have our dedicated tutorial sessions where they tend to be a little bit longer. We tend to do deep dives. But overall, the rest of the time, I might suggest an article for us to look at. But really, I let you guys set the agenda. Whatever questions you want to ask, whoever shows up, we have different conversations. Sometimes we talk about philosophy. Sometimes we talk about like the meta aspects of data science. Sometimes we talk about specific data. Who knows, right? So, Zaki, I hope that provides you enough of a background. Thank you for being here. You're welcome to keep on coming back. You're welcome to watch us on YouTube if you like a little bit of a widescreen format. I see you're on Instagram. But that's it. That's the stream in a nutshell. So thanks for being here. Watch me lurking. Watch me lurking. We ask people to introduce themselves. Let us know your city, state, province, all that good stuff. But thanks for joining us over on Twitch. Is it Haridi? Help me with your name. I hate mispronouncing people's names. I believe it's Haridi. Hi, I'm a software engineering student from India. Welcome. Been following you for quite a while now. One thing I've always wanted to ask is, what are projects which make your resume stand out? Yeah, welcome. You know, I love to see when people are willing to step forward, you know, because I know I get a lot of watchers, not necessarily a lot of participants. So thank you so much for introducing yourself. What are the best projects that make your resume stand out? It's projects that you owned. Projects that you sourced and owned from the very beginning. Don't show, if I'm a hiring manager, don't show me Kaggle. Don't show me some, you know, big school project you did, you know, because I know some curriculums have like a big capstone project and stuff like that. That's good, but that's the minimum, right? If you want to show me that, you know, you really have a great project, give me something that you own from beginning to end. I had a curiosity about this. I read a report that related to it about this, and then I got this data, and then I analyzed that data. That data led to my hypothesis, and then with that hypothesis, I needed to create my own experiments. This is what the experiments told me, and this is what it means for your business, right? If you can walk me through that, I don't care what you're talking to me about. I care that you did that process, that methodology successful, right? Because that's really what you're trying to show. You're trying to show that you can run a project from stage to stage to stage, right? So that's what I would tell you. Don't get too caught up in kind of like a paralysis by analysis, like, oh, it has to be something that people will like, or I want to apply for an airline, so it has to be an airline related project. Don't worry about that. Worry about the ownership and demonstrating that you ran the project from beginning to end, that you were able to piece it all together from nothing, right? No professor told you what to do. No one handed you the data, you know, nice, clean data. No one told you what model to use, right? That you did all of that from beginning to end. I promise you that if you can do that, that's kind of like your best time investment and your best, you know, opportunity for walking into an interview and impressing the interviewer, right? So that's the key there, guys. Something that you did from beginning to end. All right. So I hope that answers your question. And again, please help me with your name, because I really hate mispronouncing people's names. I just saw your reply on Instagram. Why did that not do that? That's weird. So I don't know why it's not coming up on my chat. But they say you could pronounce it as Hride. Thanks for the response. Are hackathons a good stepping stone for data scientists? Okay, so it's Hride. Okay, so Hride says, are hackathons a good stepping stone for data scientists? They can be. They can be. Again, it depends on how you go about it. Look, guys, overall, whether we're talking about hackathons or your resume or just your own personal explorations, it's the uniqueness is what stands out. The uniqueness and your methodology is what stands out in those types of scenarios. So try to stand out by how you go about it, but then also make sure that you're applying a good, solid methodology to everything that you're doing. That's really what's going to help you in the in your resume, in the hackathons or things like that. Okay, like I'll tell you guys, the last time I judged a hackathon. So every once in a while, because of my position, we got offers to come out and like help with hackathons or student projects or things like that. So this was in Dallas, Texas. It was at the University of Texas, Dallas, I think. Yeah, I think it was there. And they had just like a traditional 24-hour hackathon. Just come and and develop a project. They had it in one of like the big auditorium rooms, and they had food for the kids, and they had a bunch of judges come in. They had a ton of judges, actually. I think there were maybe like 50 judges, because it was a big hackathon, right? And I remember this stuck in my mind, and I remember because this I can't remember the year. It must have been like 2018 or something like that. I can't remember. But it was right around the time when Amazon had just launched Alexa, like that little pod that they have that you can have in your house, right? And Alexa had just been released, and so had the API, because Alexa has an API. So I remember that each of the judging groups, because the judges were like 4 to a group, we were assigned like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 teams that you go around to, and then, they make their presentation and you grade them, right? Of the 8 teams, like 6 of them had done stuff with the Alexa API. And even then, it wasn't really unique because they were just using the API, right? Like they were just writing a wrapper and code for the API, but like, it wasn't exciting, like it wasn't like the technology wasn't like groundbreaking, right? Like you would go to one team and they would show you how to do like API of Alexa for like kitchen stuff, right? Like reordering Amazon items you need for your kitchen. And then the next team would just show you the same code, except they were using it to like open the garage door or something like that, right? So from a hackathon perspective, like, how do you judge that? Like neither team kind of stands out. They're just using the Alexa API, right? So Hride, I'm using that as an example for you where like, don't like hackathons can be fun, but don't get caught up in what everyone else is doing, right? Because from a judging perspective, giving you my perspective as a judge, it was kind of like lame, right? Because it's like, okay, well, you guys all did the same thing. So it's like you guys are tied, right? Like nobody really stood out, right? So yeah, so that's one thing I would tell you, that make sure that you're going to be unique in a hackathon, right? I will tell you the one thing that did stand out to me, and I know that you guys can't do anything about this, but just as an example, I can't remember exactly how this kid did it. I think his father. There was something about how, I don't know, like what the hackathon was at University of Texas, Dallas. It was for the college kids, and I think it was specifically for the engineering school, if I remember right. And everyone else we met, all the other teams, they were all college kids. But somehow this kid, he was like 13, and he was a solo team in the hackathon, and I can't exactly remember what it was, but he had found a loophole where, because he lived in the area or because he was part of the community, that was like a taxpayer for the university, he was allowed to participate, or he could demand to participate. And they let him in. He was 13 years old. He was like in the, what is that? That's like the 8th grade or something, right? Like really young. But he really wanted to participate, so they let him in. So I remember that, I do remember that kid, because he was so young, competing against, people that were 3, 4, 5 years older than him. Well, maybe older than that, right? Because you're older than in college. So maybe 6, 7 years older than him. So you remember the unique stuff, right? as a judge, right? You want to make the judge remember you, but they're not going to remember you if you're using the same API or the same project that everyone else does, right? So Paride, that's probably a longer answer than what you wanted, but keep that in mind, okay? Hackathons are fun, but you got to be unique. You got to stand out, okay? Rex, thank you so much for playing host on Twitch. Appreciate that. Martin says, hi, I'm a computer science student from Albania studying in the UK. First time joining the stream. Welcome, Martin. Martin, I don't think we get too many viewers from Albania, so welcome for that. You might be my first viewer from Albania. But let us know what you're studying in the UK. Let us know how you're doing out there or anything else you want to share. But glad you're joining us. Glad you're, stepping out and introducing yourself. So appreciate that. Thank you. Sarvesh, our good friend Sarvesh says, hello, Dennis. Good morning to you. Sarvesh here from Mumbai, India. Of course, Sarvesh, you're such a great supporter. I remember you're from Mumbai, so thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate you. Integral Solutions 9 says at DS with Dennis. Integral, let us know where you're from, okay? I appreciate that. Zaki says, I'm outside actually, so internet isn't very stable. Zaki, that's okay. After the stream finishes, YouTube does archive it in my live section. So feel free to subscribe and notify on my YouTube. And you can find all the streams I do there. I have a lot of videos on them because I save every stream. So plenty for you to look at, okay? Mafood says, hello everyone. I had friends that participated in datathons in Tunisia. They've learned a lot. Yeah, they can be very useful, right? I remember another team, and actually they were one of the teams that won. And I think I gave them high scores for this, but when you're you judge at the end of the hackathon, right? And you can tell the teams who have been up all night because they're like so excited, right? They're running on adrenaline, they're running on Red Bull or whatever energy drinks, right? So the teams that have been up all night, they're like these super excited ones, right? And I remember this one team that I really liked, and like I said, I think they won. I think they won one of our prizes. During their presentation, they were just so excited and just like, I could tell that they were awake, right? And I told them that I was like, man, I'm loving your energy. You guys have been up all night, and they were like, yeah, we've been up all night. We've been working on this all night. And I said, oh, well, you guys must be good friends, because it was like 6 of them. And I was like, oh, so you guys must be good friends. You had a good time staying up all night. And they were like, no, we just met. Like, each one of the 6 people had individually come, and they had all met, and they all got together sometime, during the hackathon. And they were like, yeah, they did our GUI. That he was a programming genius. He did this. She did that. And I just love that, right? And I think that's the real value in the hackathons and the datathons, right? The people you're going to meet, the teamwork, the interactions, and all that. But yeah, Mafood, I'm sure that's the case, that they learned a lot, so thanks for sharing that, and if anybody wants to share their own hackathon experience, let me know. But, I don't think I've ever done any as a participant. I've been a judge plenty of times, but yeah, I mean, if you guys want to share your hackathons, that would be fun to hear about. Mafood says, and I want to congratulate you on your impressive growth. As I said, value is king, and you provide a lot of value for your audience. It's the best strategy. I appreciate that, Mafood. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, guys, like I said earlier to, I think it was Zaki that had asked, my whole motivation for this is that I want to put good information out for data science. That's it. That's all I want to do here, right? I care enough about the industry where I should want to help the future generation, right? Younger doctors learn from older doctors, new lawyers learn from experienced lawyers. So it's time for me to, reach my hand back and help data science as a whole, right? Because the profession of data science goes beyond me, right? I want the profession to keep growing beyond me and my years. So that's all I'm doing. Just trying to trying to put good stuff out there, and hopefully some good stuff comes back to me, right? So, I offer coaching calls. I'm seeing a little bit of an increase in that. So I really enjoy doing that. So, maybe that'll continue. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see where the future leads. But thank you, Mufud. Appreciate your kind words there. Haride says, man, you're a pure soul. Appreciate everything you're doing. You're going to see me pretty often listening to your talks. It's possible if you could share your fresher years and how you got into this. Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, Rita, and it's a story I've shared multiple times. So I will point you towards my YouTube channel, because I have talked about how I made a career transition into data science, because I was a software developer for a long time. But Haride, just to kind of give you the short version, because I know plenty of people on this chat have already heard it. Just to give you the short version, I'm very much an advocate for following your passions. Do what you like. Do what makes you happy. Find something in life that you want to master and dedicate your life to it. Mastery by Robert Greene is the book that I always recommend. I give it to all my friends. I give it to young people that I mentor. I gave it to my niece and nephew. If you're an intern and you've worked for me, I've given you a copy, because I believe in that. Follow your passions. So when Mafud talks about my growth, or when you talk about being a pure soul, you guys are seeing the end result of that. Like this is easy for me, and this is like not work for me, and maybe my growth has come from it. Because I've just been following my passion for the last few years, right? Like I just really like this stuff. So, I mean, that's really like the best thing I can tell you as far as advice, right? Follow something that you want to dedicate your life to. I did that, and this is the end result, right? Like I'm having fun now. Well, I've always had fun with data science, but I'm having even more fun now, right? Because now I'm self-employed. I work when I want. I work with the people that I want. So this is the end result. So if you feel like, oh, that passion stuff doesn't work, or I don't want to read some crazy book. Well, I mean, this is how I got here, right? So something to think about. But that's the short version. But I invite you to go to my YouTube. And I think it's called How I Made a Mid-Career Transition into Data Science. The video, I mean. All right. So Fatima says, would you say that an effective data scientist should focus on specializing in one domain while maintaining foundational knowledge across other areas of data science? Or is it better to aim for a broader approach covering multiple subdomains? That question did not end like I thought it would, Fatima. So Fatima, help me understand this. When you're talking about domains, are you talking about business domains? Because that's what I thought you meant. But it sounds like you could also be referring to domains within data science. And by that, I would mean like NLP would be like its own domain, right? Image processing or computer vision is kind of its own domain. Signal processing is kind of its own domain. Like, is that what you mean? Help me understand what you mean by domain there, Fatima. Please define that a little further. Because when I first started, I thought you were referring to business domains, but I don't think that's the case. Okay, so Martin, our new friend Martin says, I'm studying computer science and I'm looking for a career in data science machine learning, thinking of pursuing a master's for next year. Very cool. Sounds like a good plan. So I'm assuming that means that you're a little bit later in your computer science studies. You're close to graduation there. Is that what you mean? But yeah, I mean, I think that there's plenty of really good graduate programs now for data science, right? And that is something that I have coming up in my content. Because I do get a lot of questions around which master's program to pick. Should I pick for master's in machine learning? Should I pick for data science? Should I pick for, what else is out there? a master's in AI, right? Plenty of variations out there. But the reality is that most master's curriculum are the same, right? They're going to have a lot of commonalities. So Martin, as you go through that process, happy to help you, happy to, have you, bring questions to the chat, but don't get caught up in the marketing hype. Just pick a graduate degree, from a school or a program you like and go for it. If you were smart enough to get through a computer science degree, then you'll probably do just fine in some sort of graduate data science studies. So let us know how that progresses, okay? Watch me lurking. Let us know where you're from. We always ask people to introduce themselves, your city, state, province, country. It's a good way to introduce yourself, good way to participate, okay? All right, great questions today, guys. Great questions. So I think a couple of you are going to want to send follow-ups, and that's okay. But while we're waiting for those follow-up questions, I want to bring up an article because this is something that I think should be near and dear to everyone's heart. I posted an article on the Discord, and it talked about storm and weather forecasts. And I'm always kind of fascinated by this because, it's an algorithm, right? Weather prediction is an algorithm, has a lot of different inputs, quickly changing updates. But, there is machine learning and a data science approach that is at the core of most weather forecasting approaches, right? So this article caught my eye because, as some of you may know, we've had quite a few hurricanes and serious weather here in the US. And that has caused a lot of evacuations, a lot of alarms, a lot of warnings to people, people who could be affected by flooding or by trees that could fall on your home, all kinds of really serious situations, situations that can cause a lot of personal harm. And actually, I just realized, let me zoom in on this a little bit. And it's kind of created this, also realize that, again, here in the US, we are in an election year. So maybe that's playing a little bit into it. But this article talks about how it's created a little bit of a backlash. There's been a lot of pushback from the general public to say, oh, well, that algorithm isn't right, or that algorithm is being manipulated. No, there's no way we're going to be affected by that storm. No, that storm is not going to, affect me, or I'm not going to listen to the news. The news doesn't know where the storm is going, so on and so forth, right? So here, to start us off, at the very top of the article, you can see that the forecasters predicted its track within just 12 miles of where the storm made landfall. Now, that's pretty impressive, right? For a storm that forms a couple hundred miles away from the US, because these storms form in the middle of the ocean, right? That's where they start. And then, they tend to, I think the average they say is like 4 to 5 days before it affects the US, right? So you're forecasting something that is hundreds and hundreds of miles away, 5 days away from approaching you, and you can get down to 12 miles of where the storm actually is. That's amazing, right? I mean, if all of us here think about the model it takes to do that, that's pretty impressive to get within 12 miles, right? And this is something that I've gotten an inclination of before because, I've read about weather forecasting patterns before. My brother-in-law kind of sort of does this for the government. He's kind of in a different role now, but he's worked on weather for the government. So I've gotten a sense of how accurate some of those things are. So for us, from a data science perspective, because we're not weather experts, but from a data science perspective, that's a pretty accurate model, right? To be able to forecast from that far away, both in time and distance, and to get down to 12 miles, that's pretty good, right? So because of that, they predicted flooding on the coastlines. And basically they're saying, hey, look, forecasts are accurate and nobody can say that they were surprised by the landfall location. So in other words, the weather forecasters, the data scientists in this case, are pretty confident in their results, and they proved their results, right? The ground truth was that they got within 12 miles of their forecast. Pretty good. So the problem comes is here. At a time when hurricane forecasts are at their most accurate, some meteorologists say they've never faced so much skepticism, hatred, and conspiracy-minded pushback. Some have reported threats of violence online, while others say they've experienced personal attacks. So here they go on to talk about conspiracy theories on social media and just little things that people make up that they see on a map, or they try to play data scientists themselves and say, oh no, it's going to go here instead of here and all this stuff, right? Or, as crazy as it sounds, they interject their own personal bias. Here, one of the forecasters talks about how somebody believes in the conspiracy of weather modification, right? Where the Illuminati can control the weather or other stuff, right? And he spent the next 14 minutes harassing me about weather modification, right? So again, our goal here is not to become weather specialists, right? Our goal here is to think about what that means for you. Because this is one of the discussions I have with some of my younger data scientists. And really the message I'm trying to convey to all of you. Just because you're a data scientist and just because AI is all over the news and the latest and greatest and a fundamental, benefit to society, so on and so forth, guess what? Not everyone's going to be a fan of you. Not everyone is going to believe you. Not everyone is going to say, hey, great, the data science team is here, right? That's simply not the case. You're going to get resistance. You're going to get pushback. You're going to get people who are going to take a look at your results and say, okay, fantastic. Put the report away and never look at it again. Never use your algorithm again. That happens. For better or worse, that does happen, right? You're going to get people who are going to tell you, why should we listen to you? This business was around long before data science was ever even a word, and we were doing just fine. You're going to be new to a lot of companies, and you're going to be walking into talking to people who have been with the company for 10, 15, 20 years. So never mind that you're a data scientist, you're still just look like the new person. Why is the new person suggesting changes? I don't care whether you're suggesting changes because of a math formula or not. You just got here last year. Why are you suggesting changes? Right? So even on a personal level, they're going to challenge you, right? That's because that's not challenging your data science skills. That's just challenging you because you're the new person, right? That's going to happen. And in some, I don't know if you're going to see this a lot in the business world where they're going to give you some weird conspiracy theories or other things like that. But there are going to be other reasons that they're going to tell you, well, we really don't want to do that. Or our customers don't think that way, so we don't want to use your algorithm. Well, that's a personal bias, right? That's a domain bias. So you're going to have to develop the skills to, one, recognize when you're being pushed back on, because it's not always obvious. And two, how to develop the communication skills to be able to handle those situations. Maybe it's not critical if you're just starting out in the field, right? Your manager will help you out with all of that, right? Your manager will help address a lot of that. But as you grow in your career, you're going to have to learn how to handle all of that. Otherwise, you'll never be the manager, right? But how do you handle that pushback when somebody just tells you no? No, I don't believe you. I don't think I will use your algorithm. Thank you. Right? Like, how do you respond to that? That's not always easy, right? So I hope I've given you something to think about there. Please check out the article. If you're on the Discord, you can click on the link there. But this is a great article for you to think about from that meta view of how am I going to handle this when I'm actually out there working? Because it will happen to you. Not everyone's a fan of data science. Not everyone will believe your results. Not everyone is ready to change the way they do business just because your data tells them something differently, right? Some people can never overcome that personal bias. Right or wrong, they can't overcome that personal bias. I promise you that you're going to run into that, okay? So I'd like for you to think about that. All right, so Fatima says, let me go back to my main camera. Okay, so Fatima, adding to her previous question, says, I mean a specific field like computer vision and deep learning. Okay, so refreshing our mind, Fatima says, would you say that an effective data scientist should focus on specializing in one domain while maintaining foundational knowledge across other areas of data science? Excuse me. Yeah, Fatima, that's a great question. So it's really hard to answer because on the one hand, there are reasons why NLP, CV, and all of those are their own independent domain because they do require fairly specific skills for that, right? So on the one hand, I see a benefit to saying, hey, I'm going to go ahead and stay in this. And this is, and I'm not just going to dedicate myself to data science. I'm going to dedicate myself specifically to NLP. There's benefits in that, right? From a personal perspective, from a career perspective, from helping your company's perspective, you would want to diversify, right? Because maybe the demand for NLP will fall in the future, right? So the way that I would approach it, Fatima, is to kind of have like your work interests and your personal interests, or even your personal study of saying, well, yes, I'm in an NLP role now, but let me do some image processing on my own time or in my free time, right? And maybe that results in something you can present to your current company, or maybe that just represents something that you'll work on personally and, kind of just be ready for the future, right? Because you never know what your career will bring in the future. So Fatima, really, I hate to kind of give you a non-answer, but I kind of see it both ways. I see benefits to both sides. If we come back to talking about the curriculum, right? I say, don't get caught up in the marketing hype. That is one of the exceptions I make, though, that later in your studies, maybe like in your second year of your studies, I wouldn't be surprised if some curriculums do say, well, you can pick a concentration in NLP, or you can pick a concentration in computer vision, because, they are unique enough where you kind of need that specialized training, right? But for everything else, I think you kind of have to do a little bit of both, right? You can be an NLP specialist by day, but then still in your personal projects at home, do other things. It's just it's just a good hedge, right? It's just a good strategy to do that. Just seems like a safe strategy to do that, right? So yeah, Fatima, I hate to give you kind of like a non-answer like that, but I can see it both ways. I can see it both ways. Ambed Carr says, I remember there's a book on analyzing hurricanes using R programming. Yeah, and there's plenty of information out there, right? Weather forecasting is not unique, right? And again, the point is, and it's not, the purpose is not for us to become weather specialists, right? That's not what I'm trying to do here. The purpose is for us to think about, what it means when somebody tells you, I don't believe you. Like, what would you reply to that? Like, seriously, I mean, if you guys want to role play and you want to put that in, you want to give me a feedback in the comments, what would you reply to that? You just started. You started at a company 6 months ago. You just managed to put together your first algorithm, and you tell people, and you run a presentation. You tell them what you found. You present them with some sort of new operation or new process or new approach that could potentially help them. And they tell you, no, we're not interested. Thanks. What do you do then? Right? It's going to happen. Fatima says, thanks for the clarification. Wow, I cannot talk today. Thanks for the clarification. It's really helpful. Is it, Fatima? I feel bad. I feel like I gave you a non-answer because really, I mean, there is no ideal answer for that question, right? Like, I don't want to tell anyone to not plan ahead. You kind of always have to plan ahead, right? So, yeah. I don't know. I mean, if that makes you think about other things, let me know, Fatima. But they are unique fields, they are unique domains, but don't put your eggs in one basket, as we say in the US, right? Rex says, how would you advise we deal with people who can't change their minds even when given valid evidence that goes against their beliefs? It's situation dependent, Rex, right? It depends on who's driving the project. In some cases, your stakeholders, the people you're trying to help, aren't necessarily the ones trying to drive the project, right? There could be a lot of reasons why somebody says, hey, we want to do this project. But the people that you ultimately present to and ultimately helping could be a completely different set of people, right? So there's a lot of dynamics there in terms of who can say no and who can say yes, right? But that's not a data science thing. That's more of just like an office politics type of thing, right? So it depends, Rex. But if you are in a situation where you're helping people who could also be driving the project, sometimes you do just have to move on, right? Sometimes people just can't overcome their biases. They're afraid, they don't want to lose their job, they don't like change. There's a million reasons why they could tell you no that have nothing to do with you and your work, right? It's just a personal hurdle that they can't overcome, and then you have to realize that and move on. And I've had that happen. I've had that happen where, my team worked on a report, we worked on recommendations, we worked on action plans, and the recipient ultimately just kind of put it to the side, so we put them to the side, right? You just move on and go on to the next item, right? Because there's so much demand for it now, right? Within a company that you really can't afford to just get bogged down in that one person who won't move. So there are times, Rex, where you will just have to say, okay, well, we've done our best. We presented our work. It's time for us to do other work. That happens too. Denelson says, what are your thoughts on quantum computing? Do you think it will intersect with DS or ML. Danielson, I'm not going to call myself the most educated person on quantum computing, but I do understand that the way they are now, they are still very, very, very massive systems, right? My understanding is that we are still far away from a situation where a company can just say, "Oh yeah, we have a quantum computing data center," right? Like for it to be that common, for a company to just say that, like, "Oh yeah, that's one of our quantum computing data centers." Like my understanding is that we're still like decades away from them, not just years, but decades, right? And I say that, again, I'm trying to avoid any crazy talk or anything like that. But my understanding is that, there's plenty of governments in line waiting to have better access to quantum computing, right? Like the government usage of quantum computing hasn't even really begun to scale, right? So they're going to have their usage of it first, and then it's going to go out to the masses, right? So, like, will they eventually intersect? Yeah, maybe, but I see it as being decades away. And then where's data science and ML going to be in decades, right? You can't say. So yeah, maybe they could be headed towards a path now when they're like, 20, 30, 40 years away. But what if data science makes some weird turn, right? That where quantum computing doesn't matter, right? Like who cares, right? So that's how I see it. That's how I see it, Again, that's my understanding, I'm aware of some of IBM's efforts, around quantum computing. I've talked to some executives that have taken their quantum computing tours out in upstate New York and all that. But that's my understanding, Dendelson, that it's still pretty far off in the future for any given company to have free and open access to it. But if somebody else knows better, feel free to tell me in the chat. So Ambad says, true indeed, weather is just a case study of complex systems. It helps in practicing for a digital twin. Yeah, sure, Ambad, but that's not the point of today's talk, right? The point is, what are you going to do when somebody tells you no? Right, I mean that's kind of like the meta point we're trying to make here, right? Try to not get caught up in the weather aspect or even in the modeling aspect, right? Data science is not just modeling. Data science has a lot of people problems or people challenges that you're going to have to overcome, right? That's really kind of what we're talking about, right? So I hope that's come across in the discussion today. Zaki says, may I know what time do you usually start your live stream? Same time that you joined today, Zaki. 1500 GMT. So I don't know what that's Malaysia time, but it's 1500 GMT is when I start, okay? But really glad to have you here, and I get really encouraged when people come back, so yeah, keep on coming back. So Fatima says, I recently met someone who mentioned that an exceptional data scientist should ideally develop deep expertise in one specific domain. So I'm confused. Develop deep expertise in one specific domain. I disagree with that. It's not terrible advice, but net, I disagree with that. Because what does it mean to be exceptional? What does it mean to be exceptional? Let me ask you guys a question, okay? And I'm gonna give you guys something to think about here. But here's a question: have you guys ever read an NLP white paper? Have you ever read one of those? They are boring. Oh my gosh, they are boring. You having trouble sleeping at night? Pull up an NLP white paper and start reading. You'll get to sleep real quick. Okay? Have you met like these deep NLP specialists? Oh my gosh. They are boring people. So, does that make me an exceptional data scientist to be able to write deep NLP white papers? No. Absolutely not. Fatima, whoever told you this, I don't think, the person who told you this is the person that doesn't get invited to the team meetings, right? Because it's possible to get too deep into it and you lose some of that ability to relate to the problems that the people are trying to solve. Because look, I know we have a lot of first-time viewers here. So one of the things I emphasize, or at least I try to emphasize in my content, is that there's so many people aspects to data science. You gotta have people skills. In my opinion, you gotta have people skills to be an exceptional data scientist. So Fatima, that's where I'm coming back to your first statement. My definition of being an exceptional data scientist is that I can talk to anyone about data science. I can have somebody from my company, one of my colleagues, come to me, ask me a question or a curiosity about data science. I can talk to them and they're going to walk away not feeling stupid. Right? Like if you've done that, you are an exceptional data scientist. More importantly, in the past, on my stream, in my content, we've talked about like consulting, right? In consulting, you want to become a company's trusted advisor, right? That's the word. You're never going to become a trusted advisor in data science if you can't talk to people. But if you can, you'll be an exceptional data scientist, right? So Fatima, that's kind of like where I ultimately disagree with this. Because if I were to become an exceptional NLP specialist, that doesn't make me an exceptional data scientist, right? That doesn't make me an exceptional consultant, a data science consultant, right? So I'd be really careful with that, Fatima. I would still stand by my first answer. And I'd want to be more of a holistic person, a holistic data scientist that can speak to a lot of different items within data science. But more importantly, I can speak it at a human level, not an NLP white paper level. So I think that's the answer I would give you there, Fatima, that the person who gave you that advice is exceptional in their own mind, right? They've created this little bubble, but in that bubble, you develop like blinders. Like, I'm really great at NLP. Yeah, but you suck at talking to people. Like, there's reasons why you're the guy that nobody invites to the meetings, right? So, yeah, I mean, that's what I'd have to tell you, Fatima, that I'm not sure I agree with that. Because I don't want to be exceptional to other data scientists. Hey, look at what this great white paper I wrote. I want to be exceptional to the business, to stakeholders, to clients, right? So let me know what you think about that, Fatima. But again, for everybody listening, maybe it's your first time here. Do not ignore the people side of data science. It's going to help you find a job easier. It's going to help you move along in that job, have success in the job. It's going to help you move up into leadership, within your team, within your company, so on and so forth. Do not lose sight of how much of a people job data science is. Some people do that, right? And that's the guy who never gets promoted, right? You'll always just be the NLP specialist. You'll never be the leader, the advisor, the the person that they bring into the budget planning meetings, the vision meetings, right? They'll never rely on that because you're this guy, right? So keep that in mind. But if you want to say, hey, look, no, I don't care about that. I want to be an exceptional, data nerd that works with words and NLP all day, then great. If that's your definition of exceptional, go ahead. But there's a ceiling to that, You better be really happy doing that because that's all you're going to be doing, right? So I'm not trying to poo-poo that. Somebody really feels strongly about computer vision or whatever, right? But data science is a people science, not necessarily always a math and algorithms. Okay, keep that in mind. But great discussion, Fatima. And if you have a follow-up, let me know. But it's an interesting little thread we have going on there. But I would ultimately disagree with whoever that person was, Fatima. So Ant A says, if we can automatically get metrics from everything we do, then feed it into AIs, properly spread out to circumvent the rate limits, it will work. And I'm not 100% sure what item you are referring to. Anthony A, maybe coming over from X, says deep expertise in social data science. We just need to unlock all the deep expertise everyone has of every field. But solving for a field doesn't solve for all problems. Right? Because remember, the problems that data science can help you with is always constantly changing. There's never a finish line to that, right? So I don't know if I'm on board with that, Anthony. Unlocking expertise is not the same as unlocking problems. All right? Let me know what you think. I may be shooter. Hey, welcome. It's good to see some conversation on Kick. Welcome. I may be shooter. We ask people to introduce themselves. Let us know your city, state, province, country. But yeah, feel free to introduce yourself on Kick. Easy way to participate. But I may be shooter says, is data science still on trend in 2025? I may be shooter is responding to my previous one. Nobody cares. They just care about the output. Yeah. I think you're right about that, shooter. Right? And I tell that to my teams, and I've said this on stream before, right? Like, you're going to be in meetings where you're presenting to a managing director who's a busy person, not technically inclined. They don't really care how you're getting your results. They just care that your results are accurate and reliable and repeatable, right? That's all they care about. But I tell that to my teams. I say, look, this person that we're going to walk into, don't mention anything technical. They don't care whether we're using like some really amazing neural network or whether we train some monkeys that sit in the back and type on an iPad and give us the answers. Like, it literally doesn't make a difference whether we're using monkeys or a neural network. So just the people side is what matters. Because if you can't sell that managing director on your work, on your abilities, and they say no, then who cares, right? Who cares what you were working on? Who cares how many nights you stayed late and, waited for some, training cycle to finish, or however many team meetings you had, or team debates and discussions you had? Who cares? If you can't sell it to the person, if the person doesn't like your results, as Shooter says, like, you did nothing, right? So yeah, definitely do not underestimate the human side, the human skills that you're going to need in data science. Anthony says, having deep expertise in every field can having deep expertise in every field can unlock all the solutions to every problem, even those that we overlooked. That was all. No, that's not correct. Problems are never static. Just because a problem, how can you predict future problems? Right? So no, Anthony, I completely disagree. That's very short-sighted, right? Your statements would assume that like time stops just because you fed an LLM, right? So no. Problems can come from anywhere at any time in any form. So I disagree with that. The expertise could help create a good base to work from for future problems, but I don't think it helps with problems at all. So yeah, I'm not on board with that. So Fatima says, I agree with you. I believe that regardless of my specialization, having a broad understanding of all areas in data science is crucial for making a meaningful impact. Yeah. Yeah. It's going to help with your meaningful impact, but also it's just good. Kind of just like good career management too, right? And it's also just kind of interesting, right? Like I've been fascinated with computer vision. I wish I could do more work with it. I wish I had the time. But to me, like it's fascinating, right? That you can break down a picture to a numerical representation, use those numbers for a neural network and go from there, right? Like that's pretty cool, right? So yeah, I mean, I think that you'll expand into the other domains just naturally if you're really passionate about data science. But yeah, overall, I think it's good to make an impact as in many places as you can. And you know where it really helps, Fatima? Where it really helps is in those casual conversations that you're going to have with your colleagues, with your bosses, with other people. Because, you know, as I've told you guys before, you're going to have people who read all kinds of stuff. You know, they saw an article on CNBC or on the BBC or something, and they're going to come to you and say, hey, Fatima, I read about this. What do you know about this? Because you're going to be viewed as a data science expert within the company. You might be the only true data scientist they know, right? You know, it's a growing field, right? But, you know, some people may only know one or two data scientists, right? So it's still healthy for you to be able to have an opinion on some of those things, even though it's not your domain. And I say that because that's how you become a trusted advisor. That's how you become somebody that people rely on. Whether it's your domain or not, who cares? It's that, hey, I asked Fatima a question and she really helped me out on it. Right? So from from just like that holistic perspective of I'm a data scientist, or as I've mentioned before, I'm a data professional. I can work with any sort of data under any sort of circumstances. That's going to be healthy in so many different ways, Fatima, right? As opposed to I'm just an NLP specialist, so when somebody asks me about self-driving cars, I really don't have an opinion because I really don't know that, right? I mean, that's not healthy, right? So keep that in mind. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I would disagree with ultimately with whoever told you that previously. Don't try to impress other data scientists. Impress the people that you're trying to help with your work, right? Algorithms have to mean something. They have to have some sort of tangible effect on people, right? That's the good side. Anthony says it's short-sighted to think every problem cannot be solved by having the right expertise in every field, though. Anthony, that's just plain wrong. With the right expertise of every field, you can generate solutions to problems in near real time to every problem. Sorry, Anthony, but that's not correct. If what you were saying was correct, then we'd have self-driving cars right now. Why don't we have self-driving cars? Because there's edge cases, right? Why do we have edge cases? Because you can't possibly predict every single traffic condition out there. You can't possibly predict every single financial condition, banking condition, business condition, health conditions, right? So I think you need to rethink your approach there. So Shooter says, introduction. Thank you so much for introducing yourself, Shooter. I'm from Surakarta, Central Java, Indonesia. Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks for the introduction. I visited Bali last year. So Indonesia is a beautiful country, nice people, really spicy food. Yeah, guys, when Indonesians tell you that they have spicy food, they mean it. Yeah, thanks for introducing yourself. Thanks for participating on Kick. You're one of my few legitimate participants on Kick. I get so much spam on Kick, but happy to see you. Happy to have some great interaction from a real person on Kick. Denelson says, have you ever had to handle a situation where an individual believed they knew more than you, but you know through your own research that what they were stating was wrong? Sure, of course. But it depends on the situation. Like, are you talking about like a work situation or some other sort of personal situation? But sure, that happens all the time. You try to make as many quantitative replies as you can. That's not always possible. But yeah, it's going to happen, right? Not everybody is going to view your results or your work in the same way, and that's okay, right? But you know, you move on, right? Excuse me, sorry about that. So Anthony says we don't have deep expertise in every field yet. That's true. And can we achieve that? I'm not sure we can. I think there's some fields that you wouldn't be able to achieve deep expertise. And then how would you define deep expertise, right? Every field, every need would have its own definition, right? So I don't know. I'm skeptical that we could achieve that. Hi, Dennis. I'm 30 years old and have 6+ years of experience in data warehousing. But it's mostly been on operations side, managing the client data. I am now thinking of doing MS in data science. Is that worth it? Well, first of all, welcome. Welcome to the chat. Thanks for introducing yourself. Really appreciate that. How do you define, is it worth it? Like, are you talking from like a career perspective, a satisfaction perspective, a money perspective? What do you think? Let me know how you're defining worth it, because I'm always suspicious when people ask me about, is something worth it, right? So let me know. Let me know in the chat, okay? And I believe it's Karam. Karam, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But let me know, Karam. Appreciate you introducing yourself, but give me just a little bit more detail on what you mean by is that worth it. So Anthony, continuing the previous conversation, with the help of AGI agents, it will be possible. Maybe, but not for everything, right? Not all expertise is online. Deep expertise of every field of so and so basically is. My friend, I'm going to give you some advice. You need to get away from the computer. Not everything's online, guys. Not everything in expertise is online. That's we can't pretend that everything in our world is digital. We have a lot of very, very analog things in our world, right? There are some things that just won't achieve that expertise, right? Like how would you achieve expertise in woodworking, in working with your hands, right? Like, not everything's online, guys. Not everything's a manual. So, Anthony, there's more to life than just automated crawlers and expertise and AGIs and agents and scraping. Not everything's online. We live in a big world. I know it feels like everybody's online, but there's a lot of things out there that aren't digitized. So you really can't claim that, well, we just need some AGIs and we'll just gain expertise. Life's not that way. The AI ML people are gathering data and testing and training AI in the real world too. Yeah, but that brings its problems, right? That's why we have self-driving cars that crash. I think there's a limit to that, right? There's a limit to how much we're going to put up with that. Like we as a society are going to put up with that, right? And also, I mean, how are you defining the AI ML people? I mean, like, who is that? We will soon be able to carry IoT equipment attached to AI ML systems that will automatically train for all the solutions. Define soon. I don't think it'll be solutions of every situation, and it probably won't be soon. If that comes to pass, which I'm not convinced of, if it comes to pass, it's decades away, not years. To be able to do that at scale, at a reasonable price, in the right form factors that you would need, that's not a couple years away. Kuram says, yes, I meant in terms of career. I don't feel satisfied in my current role. Also, it seems more redundant. And your current role was data warehousing. Okay. I don't know, Kuram. It depends on what makes you happy, right? Like, how do you define like career satisfaction? Like I empathize with your core message, because I would find data warehousing to be boring also, right? But that's just me. And I would find maybe I would find it boring for different reasons than you would, right? That's possible. So what is it about data science that you think would bring you more satisfaction? Like, are there things out there that would bring you more satisfaction than data science, maybe? Like, there's a lot of reasons why I like data science, and I've shared them in the past, right? But even with like software development, I like seeing my work out there. Like, I like seeing people using the tools that I write. And data science still gave me that satisfaction, right? And I could see why in data warehousing you wouldn't get that. Because in data warehousing, like, you don't really deploy a lot of things that people see, right? Like, that's not really something where you're going to have like a massive public deployment, right? So, but again, that's me, right? That's me and the satisfaction that I find from it. So what are the aspects that you think you're going to find satisfaction from in data science? You'd have to think about that, right? And by the way, I'm not asking you to answer if you don't want to, right? It could be like other personal reasons or whatever. Feel free to take my questions as rhetorical questions. But what I'm trying to prevent for you is that you would get into data science for reasons that ultimately aren't going to be more satisfactory than where you are now. There's a reason why you got into data warehousing, right? I mean, nobody just wakes up one day and becomes a data warehousing specialist, right? So what do you think? Lots more detail there. But let me know. Let me know what you think. You just got to make sure you're getting into it for the right reasons, right? Because there's definitely bad reasons to get into data science. Okay? Anthony says, it will be soon. I will ensure it happens even with sub $100 equipment. You just need to ingest data for AI to see, then store it on a backend database. That is very, very dangerous thinking, Anthony. I think that you might be underestimating the amount of data that is needed to train AI. And if there's somebody out there making sub $100 equipment, I want to hear about it. Because I don't know anybody doing that. I mean, guys, have you guys seen inflation prices recently? Can anyone make anything for under $100 nowadays? You can barely buy like a couple days worth of groceries for $100. And you're telling me they're going to make IoT equipment for under $100 and it's going to be soon? No. And I think you're underestimating the amount of data that is required for that. And by the way, guys, unfortunately, I think that's a common thing. People woefully underestimate how much data you need. I had an interesting discussion with one of my moderators. I don't think he's here today. I don't think Leo is here today. But Leo and I kind of had this back and forth. Do you guys remember, what was it? Maybe like 2-3 weeks ago, Tesla had that big event where they had the Android robots, walking around the crowd, right? And it turns out that, the voices were faked and some of the other people were fake. I'm pretty sure the bartender in those videos is also a human. I'm pretty sure they faked a human there. But we were having this conversation about he had some inklings that the robots were fake, and so did I, and we were kind of going back and forth. What did you see? What did I see? The one that really got to me that I instantly knew was fake was there was a video. You can still find it online. It's on X somewhere, where somebody they tap the robot on the arm, and they say, "Can you take a selfie with me?" The robot says yes. And then nothing else is said. The person, uses their phone as a selfie. The robot turns, and then the robot also makes like a hand gesture, like a finger point or something like that. And then the person takes the selfie. They bring down the phone, and the robot goes back to its original position. As soon as I saw that, I knew it was a fake demo. 100% fake. The whole event was fake. Because do you guys realize like the training and the data you need for that gesture recognition of where to follow the phone, pointing to the selfie, knowing when the selfie is over, the robot knowing where to look? Like, do you guys realize how much data is required for that type of a machine learning algorithm? Like, you are talking about like a massive data set, right? We were talking about computer vision before, right? With the Fatima's questions. That is a massive effort to train a machine learning algorithm like that. And I'm talking just training. And then to be able to execute that at speed in low lighting with instant movements from the inner workings of the robot and all that. We're just not there yet, guys. We're just not there. That's not where machine learning is. Like, people kind of fall in love with the movies and with the fantasy of some of these things, but don't underestimate the effort and the amount, the scale of the data to be able to do even the most basic machine learning functions that are out there. It's a little bit concerning sometimes when people don't take that into account. Is it Pratush? Hey, Pratush, we asked people to introduce themselves, so let us know your city, state, province, country. Leo, okay, Leo, you are here. Yeah, so Leo, I think you know the conversation we were talking about with with the Tesla event and all that. The AI ML people already figured out how to do the reasonings. We just need AI to see what it needs to. We just need AI to see what it needs to see to extract the power. Okay, thank you, Anthony. Leo from New York City, Nevada here. Leo, I'm just glad that there won't be any more political ads in Nevada. That's all I'm grateful for. So glad you're here, Leo. Hope you're doing well out there in New York City. And again, guys, in the chat, I have Leo, Rex, and Joseph. They're my moderators. Please say thank you to them because, you know, they do this. They do this on a volunteer basis. So really appreciate them. A nice shirt, Dennis. You think so? I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. You know what, guys? So this is one of my favorite shirts. It's made by Ping, which is my favorite golf company. But if I could go back and buy 1 million of these shirts, I 100% would. This is the only shirt I would wear. And let me see if I can show it. No, it doesn't. Am I wearing an undershirt? I'm not wearing an undershirt. I'll show it some future time. But this shirt is made with graphene. I don't know if you guys have read about that. There's a couple of YouTube videos out there about graphene. But graphene is supposed to be like the next big thing in clothing, or in a lot of things. I think it has a lot of applications. But the graphene, like, it kind of like detects like the heat or the cold, and it helps keep your body warmer. So I don't know if that shows up. You guys see how there's like that grid pattern? That's the graphene that's embedded into the shirt. And unfortunately at the time, I only bought 2 of these, but like, I never get cold or hot in this shirt. Like the shirt like knows what to do. It's crazy. But graphene to me is like amazing. I really wish I would have bought more of these shirts. But yeah, it is one of my favorite shirts. So thank you so much for noticing, Leo. Appreciate that. Kuram says, I believe in DS. You actually get to solve a problem. Better career opportunities and money is probably another reason. Lastly, I don't want to end up on the career that is made redundant by AI. Okay. So, Kuram, I'm glad that you're thinking ahead to AI, right? Because I think we all should. Should you switch careers because you fear losing your job? Maybe, maybe not, right? Because you could just be trying to work more with AI for data warehousing, right? Because there will be AI applications for data warehousing. So why not just adopt that, right? Because, you know, that's what I advocate for, right? AI is coming for data science, so we're gonna prepare now. And we do that on Sundays, right? On Sundays, we're highly dependent on ChatGPT. So why not just do that? And the reason I say that too is because I generally discourage people from for chasing money in data science. Don't do anything in your life for money, right? That's a terrible approach, right? So, Kuram, I want you to do something, anything else, whether it ends up being data science or not, because you like it, because you're passionate about it, right? Because you think you can make a difference. But if it's out of fear of AI, that's not going to go away because AI is also coming for data science. And if it's for money, well, that may or may not come. That may or may not keep you motivated. That may just have you looking for the next big thing in 5 years. Right? And that's not healthy. You know, and I've said this before on my stream. You know, and I say it half jokingly, but I am serious about this. You know, if you want money and you want job security, then don't pick data science. You should be going back to school for some sort of home or you know, nursing assistant degree. and learn how to take care of old people. Learn geriatric care. That's a huge business. You want to talk about a big boom that's coming up? Geriatric care is going to be a massive boom. You know how many people are aging across the world? Like, go learn that instead, right? Like, I see a time coming in the next few years where you're going to have all kinds of countries around the world just throwing visas at home healthcare workers, begging them to come to their countries. Like, that's going to be a huge boom coming up. So, I mean, if you want money, go do that, Like, but do data science because you like it, because like there's something inherently like special about it, right? That's what's going to keep you going. And that's what's going to keep you like not switching careers every couple of years, right? So think about that, Kerm. Again, I'm not trying to be discouraging, but don't do things in your life for money. Usually a terrible idea, right? So think about that, Kerm. Leo says, good quality indeed. Yeah, Ping and most golf companies tend to make good shirts. That's why I prefer wearing golf shirts of some kind. Except for Nike ones. Nike always makes their clothes really small. I don't look good in Nike. I got too much keister to fit into a Nike shirt. Anthony says, from your streams, I figured out the best way to understand what to do next for everyone to understand is to have metrics on everything that is I figured out the best way to understand what to do next for everyone and AI is to have metrics on everything that is relevant to each task. Yeah, great, Anthony. Just don't underestimate how many metrics you need, right? You're reminding me of something that I talk about with my clients. One of the things I talk about with my clients is data leads to more data, right? Data analysis should result in more data analysis, which usually results in more questions than what you started with, right? So yes, you need metrics, but those metrics themselves aren't always reliable. Metrics themselves have variance. Just because you take metrics one day doesn't make the same metrics valid the next day. So you almost have to take like metrics of metrics of metrics of metrics, right? It's kind of like why we have confidence intervals and distributions and things like that, right? Or, distributions and then the standard deviations and p-values, right? Like, why do you have p-values? Because p-values help you understand whether the metrics you just looked at were actually legitimate or were they just noise, right? So just keep that in mind, Anthony, right? Metrics from one day don't always hold to the next. You might need metrics of metrics of metrics, right? Metrics have variance. Everything in life has variance. But that's a beautiful thing, right? If we didn't have variance, none of us would have a job. Right? If the world was linear, we wouldn't need statisticians in data science, right? So think about that. But, metrics have variance too, right? And it's also why you also need so much of it, right? Or why you need so much of that data to kind of smooth out those variances. Leo says, wow, graphing. Yeah, if you look at some of the videos, they say graphing is like the next big thing in clothing and in a lot of fields. I haven't seen a lot of graphene shirts, but like I said, if I could go back in time, this is all I would wear. Because like temperature-wise, these things are amazing. Kuram says, thanks for the perspective. That's really helpful. And just like that, our good friend Kuram goes and starts investigating how to become a home health aide. Just kidding, Kuram. Yeah, but let us know what you decide to do. Keep on coming back. I try to give people a real world perspective. But yeah, for everybody in the chat, don't do things for money, guys. Don't do things for money. I have done that twice in my career, and I won't say I regret the second time, But the first time I did it, I ended up working for people in places that I didn't want to be. So it just never works out well. It never works out well. Do things because you want to do them, because you're passionate about them, because there's something about it, right? But yeah, don't do it. Don't do it just for the money. Khalif says, I like your advice, Sir Dennis. Impact comes first. Thank you, Khalif. Yeah. I don't know if it's about yeah, I guess it is about impact. Yeah, but thank you, Khalif. Appreciate that. Leo says, I think people are confusing the high capability of reasoning with AGI. We as data scientists won't be replaced by AI anytime soon. Some of our tasks can be simplified and accelerated. But we won't be replaced. Okay. Yeah. We won't be replaced now, Leo. But I have a lot of respect for how quickly LLMs can learn. LLMs, that's part of their power, right? We shouldn't look at LLMs where they are now. We should be looking at where they could be a couple of years from now. Right? So yeah, as we stand now, we probably won't be replaced. But I could see that day happening though, Leo, and sooner rather than later. And as I've told you guys before, keep in mind that a lot of LLM, Gen AI companies, they're still in stealth mode, right? There's plenty of startups that are still in stealth mode. So who's to say that there couldn't be somebody out there working on a really, really good data scientist specific LLM? That could happen. I mean, ChatGPT already does EDA. If you could do EDA, then you can probably suggest me a model to use for my data, right? Like, that's not that far of a step. So I hear you, Leo. There's still reasons to be optimistic, and I certainly agree that it'll be simplified and accelerated. But I don't think it's that far of a jump to say that there could be like a data science GPT, right? So, like I think that if we were to have the same conversation in 12 months from now, 18 months from now, it'd be like a whole different discussion, right? Like that's how quickly it's moving in my mind. But let me know what you think about that, Leo. That's why I said anytime. Well, but you said anytime soon, right? Okay, that's why I said anytime soon, and then it would get a little more complex. We're doomed. No more intellectual job. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, that's true, right? It wouldn't be good for data scientists, but it would be good. It would be good for the trusted advisors, right? Because you still need to know what is possible and have that creativity around AI. That part will probably take longer to replace by LLMs, right? The ability to say, oh, well, here's what my business looks like, and here's what we could be looking like, and here's how I want to make that happen. That ability is still a skill that we as humans can still own for quite some time to come, I think, right? But yeah, but can it reach a point where it does it end to end? I could kind of see that. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on this one. But I'm also drifting to thinking about something like Data Robot, right? I don't know how many of you guys have used Data Robot, but Data Robot, for the most part, can do an end-to-end project. Like they will get you from a data set to a deployed model in a very short amount of time, right? So, has Data Robot replaced anybody? Not really. That arroba has other problems, right? That are contributing to that. But I don't know. Leo says, that's my point on the difference, by the way. High capability of reasoning in AGI. For me, this ultimate view comes only with AGI. Yeah, okay. I hear you, Leo. I'm on board with that. Yeah. Anthony says, that is where IoT comes in to ingest all the new dynamically changing metrics in real time. Okay. But some of those metrics are going to tell you that you need to go backwards and you need to go back and rebuild the model, right? Because not all metrics are positive, right? So yeah, they can ingest the metrics, but that doesn't necessarily lead to real-time deployment and real-time model changes. I think that's one of the challenges that somebody like a Tesla or a Waymo is having. Like, you can claim all of these training miles, but does that mean you can effectively retrain your model, not break anything from the past, and deploy it out? Probably not, right? That's almost like that's almost like a whole other task to do. So yeah, you can take in the metrics, doesn't mean you can send them out as quickly, right? So Denelson, sorry for skipping your question there. What if my passion doesn't want me in the field? That's okay. That's okay. You should still be trying to find your passion. Maybe your passion is to open a restaurant, right? Like, who's to say your passion is even technically inclined, right? That's okay. Maybe your passion is just to, do a sport or something. That's okay too, right? So why the question, Denelson? Are you willing to share why you put that question out there? Like, are you feeling like maybe data science is not for you? Or let me know. What prompted that? I'm curious. The idea is to put AI first and figure all the rest to extract the power in everything in an instant. Yeah, maybe, but that's not. But Anthony, just as before, that's not a static thing, right? That's constantly changing. That's constantly changing. The moment we can have AI fine tune us with good metrics upon metrics, we will be able to adapt fast. Not in all situations. How do you send out an algorithm update to 10,000 cars at the same time? That's not a trivial problem, right? That's why IoT has to be there too, to be ready for all the changes. That's not an IoT problem though. That's just a old-fashioned deployment problem, right? Instant recursive learning and fine-tuning at inference time. Maybe. Some of these models are going to get big, right? Can you do instant recursive learning with a big model? Is that possible? What kind of testing are you going to be doing there, right? For just like your classic break-fix scenarios, right? I don't know if you can do that like quickly. Eventually, deep learning expertise will happen in every field and be recalled every time with ASI. Eventually is the key word there. I think it's decades away. It can be done with over the air. How quickly though? How quickly? I mean, some of these models are big, guys. Don't underestimate the size of these models, right? Maybe I'll do some research on that later because I'm curious on how big some of these models are for the self-driving cars. But you can do a lot of things with OTA, but can you do like models that are multiple hundreds of gigs and do that effectively? I don't know. We won't need to reinvent the wheel on every step, only upgrade what is needed, not everything else that is better. It depends on what you're referring to here, Anthony. But some parts will have to be updated. There won't be a choice. Like, you know, like just like the question I asked now, like, can OTA handle 50,000 cars receiving a 700 gigabyte model at the same time? Like, you'd have to be hitting some upper limits at some point, right? So I don't know. We don't have a choice in the matter, right? Some areas have perfect knowledge, some need work. It shouldn't all be treated the same. Yeah, Anthony, but that's part of why I'm giving you so much pushback, because earlier you were making blanket statements about that, right? You were making blanket statements about $100 IoT collection devices that can be used for anything. Like, that's not realistic. Like, how would you do that for you know, dry environments, for wet environments, for cold environments, for a million different things, right? And you were making blanket statements earlier that go against what you just said, right? So yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure where you're headed with all this. Shubankar, welcome. Shubankar, I think it's your first time here. Hey, I'm from India. Welcome. Glad to see you here. What part of India? What part of India? India is a huge country. It's almost a little weird to me when people just say India, because it's such a huge country. So let me know where you're from, okay? Oh my gosh, are we coming up on 2 hours? Where did the time go? Jeez. All right, guys. Lots of really good discussion today. I love where we're headed with all of this. I appreciate the discourse. I appreciate the diversity of thought. You know, that's very healthy for us to think about that. You know, it's always an interesting thing for us to kind of sit back and say, yes, this might be possible, but let's take a realistic view of where we're at in terms of infrastructure capabilities. And then let's also take time to recognize where we're at in terms of what we as humans, as a society, are ready for, right? Because we've talked a little bit about this, about, you know, are we ready for fully self-driving cars? Who's going to take liability? Who's going to take responsibility for any number of things? Are you prepared to say that you lost a family member and nobody was at the wheel, right? That's kind of weird, right? Also, you know, on X yesterday, there was somebody talking about how, well, I won't need a rental car anymore because the day before I get on my flight, I'll send my car to my destination and it'll be sitting there waiting for me at the airport. And it's like, yeah, great, but what happens when you hear that your car killed 6 people on the way to you, right? Like, is that something that we're ready for? Who knows, right? So, and then also I think that, you know, we had some good discussion about job replacement, or I'm getting ready for another job because, you know, data science, or because AI might take over my job, right? Those are all healthy things, but are we ready to have people that are going to lose their jobs to AI? You know, like, is there a plan in place for that? You know, some people use universal basic income. Well, they use AI as one of the arguments for universal basic income. Are we ready for that? Maybe, maybe not, right? Who knows? Crazy times we work in. So Dennelson says, I love working with data, especially when I can learn from it and improve any type of process, no matter how small. This past weekend, I attended a 2-day career fair. 2-day career fair? Why does a career fair need to be 2 days? Usually, you should be in and out in 20 minutes. I expressed that passion and how I have kept up my practice through personal projects and continuously learning through multiple means. I do feel like the event went good for me. However, I was a bit upset and disappointed that I wasn't able to land a job. I've been at this for 3+ years, so it's become frustrating, and I know it comes with the field. Okay. Well, first of all, I mean, you know, you have my empathy, because I know that job searching can be tough, right? I think it's tough for anyone in any field. So, you know, do your best to not be discouraged, right? But I totally understand how discouraging that situation can be. So when you say that you were upset that you were not able to land a job, I'm assuming you mean that overall, or do you mean specifically at this career fair, right? Let me know, Denelson, if you mean specifically at this career fair. I want to know the answer to that. So Denelson, what I would ask you to consider is, have you been keeping track of your resumes, how many you send out versus how many interview offers you get versus how many of those interviews turn into second interviews or, kind of later rounds, right? I'll assume you haven't had any offers yet, and that's okay. But, use your data to apply for this. Use your data and apply it to this, right? Because you should be getting a certain amount of resumes from a certain amount of interviews from your resumes. If you're not, then that's a resume problem, right? And then if you're not moving on into the further interviews, then that's an interviewing challenge, right? So I'm encouraging you to take a methodical view to how you're going about this. Because 3 plus years is a long time, right? So maybe this is an opportunity for you to take a step back and not redo your approach, but just think about, are there things you can fine tune there? So let me know what you think about that, Denelson, and if you were referring to this job fair. Roblesito says, hello, Dennis. Hey, Roblesito, welcome. Glad you're here. We ask people to let us know their city, state, province. Let us know where you're from, okay? Rundra? Is it Rundra? Rundra says, hello, Rundra. Welcome. Please let us know where you're from, city, state, province, country. Always ask people to introduce themselves, but thank you for joining us. Leo says, you got this, Denelson. You're not alone, buddy. Yeah, Leo, thank you for the positive thoughts. I appreciate that we're keeping things positive and, supporting each other. Yeah, Denelson, it's hard. Right now, job searching can definitely be difficult. I hear you. But you got to stay positive, and you got to just take a measured approach, right? You got to take a methodical approach to say, okay, well, what am I doing that I could fine tune, right? Because at some point, you have to see signs of success, right? Or signs of progress, at least. So I would ask you to consider that, right? What are some of those metrics looking like for you? What are some of those interviews looking like for you? As many of you know, I'm very much an advocate of walking into an interview with projects you can talk about. So how many projects did you walk into your last interview with? Right? So Denelson, I know it's frustrating. Hang in there. I know you may not want to share every single detail, and that's okay. But if you're comfortable sharing more stuff with us, let us know. But I'm grateful that Leo is cheering you on. I join Leo in that also, because we should all be positive. We all got to support each other. It's not always easy, right? And in many ways, a lot of portions of the hiring process, at least in the U.S., are broken, right? But stay encouraged, Denelson. You're going to be just fine. Okay. You're at least fortunate to live in LA, where there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of different companies, right? So hang in there. Hang in there. All right, guys. I can't believe we went for 2 hours. That's not common for the daily streams. I have to go vote. Like I said, I'm going to finish the stream. I'm going to put on my running shoes and I'm going to go vote. So if you haven't voted yet, please do that. Here in the US, again, not telling you who to vote for, not being political. I don't like doing that, but just make sure you vote. Make sure you get out there. But thank you so much for hanging in there with me. 2 hours is not common, but wonderful. All right, guys. So please, as always, take care of yourselves, take care of your families, and I'll speak to you next time.